really delighted to introduce our next guest, who I would best describe as one of the most influential, thoughtful, and inspiring filmmakers of contemporary Hindi cinema, Mr. Rakeysh Omprakash Mehra. Over the course of his career as a writer, producer, director, he's made some of the most critically acclaimed and successful films like Rang De Basanti, which I don't think needs an introduction in this audience, Bhaag Milkha Bhaag, Detour. I think these films have not only inspired Indian cinema to take a new direction, but have also represented Indian cinema in a lot of international film awards and film festivals. So I think it's a great honor and privilege to have an opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
So, given that we're in a college campus, I want to begin with a question that I feel is most relevant for a lot of students who are in the audience today. Growing up in a middle-class family in India, or an immigrant family in the United States, it's very difficult to escape the kind of conventional academic pressures that are put on students. You know, usually we are either encouraged to become doctors or lawyers or engineers, and so I would argue that something like filmmaking is such an unconventional and to a large extent risky career choice. So I want to know what was your journey like, and did you face those kind of challenges as well, and how did you navigate that phase of your life to arrive at where you are today?
Well, actually, I really don't have an answer to that. So I'll try and make some sense out of it. Actually, we think we navigate life, but actually, I think life is navigating us. It takes us. So if we completely submit ourselves and just jump into the water, and then the flow will take you. As long as you are willing to trust the flow. And so I think that's about it, to sum it up in a very abstract way.
What about parental pressures though?
None at all. I think we were the pressures on them in my generation. So they never pressure. In fact, I had to remind my father every year which class I was going to. So yeah, those are different times. I'm not saying they apply today or they are relevant today. So I came from a middle class family, living out of Old Delhi. It's the walled city of Delhi, so my generations, wherever we could count the family tree, it went back to Old Delhi only. I grew up in the lanes. In fact, the lane opposite to me was where there was a mazar of Mirza Ghalib. So we would play hide and seek, never knowing that Mirza Ghalib is buried underneath. Later, it got declared as a World Heritage Site, and I went there recently. The terraces were a playground. That's where we would fly the kites. But there were a lot of memories, and then Delhi started expanding, so we kept shifting south of Delhi, and my father got a job in a hotel, and he became a food and beverages manager. So I thought one day I'm going to cook. That was my passion, and still I'm holding that very close to my heart. I think that's going to be my next profession.
You're going to be a chef?
I don't know. I love to cook and make people happy, and maybe not even sell it to them. Right. Just let them decide if they want to pay something. And so yeah, life carried on. So I joined when we came to Lajpat Nagar, or before that we were staying in Claridge's Hotel where my father worked. So there were these quarters for the staff there, and very close to that was the race course, and there we were fascinated by horses. So we there my father met the Air Chief Marshal, O.P. Mehra, same namesake. And he put me in an Air Force school, Bal Bharti Air Force School, very close to Ajay's school, Sardar Patel. And every day when we entered the school, there used to be a MiG-21 plane out there, just a shell of it. And we would run around it, get punished underneath. But it became a part of our consciousness. And then time passed, and everyone used to play cricket in the school. We had quite a few under 17, under 19 India players, and later on they went on to become big Ranji players, and some even represented India. So I never got a chance in the first 11. So maybe we should have 21 in a team. So anyway, that happened. So I used to swim a bit, play water polo, and played for junior nationals and then junior India and all that. Whatever swimming was worth in India. And that took me to Sri Ram College. It's a prestigious college in Delhi, and I got a sports admission. And the environment was absolutely vibrant. The emergency had just gotten over in 1977. And the political environment was extremely vibrant, and it was a great mix. We would always talk about, they don't do this, you know, the roads are not good, the water is not coming, they don't give us electricity, and so on and so forth. And kept pointing fingers, and then life passed by, and got my first job as a salesman. I was selling vacuum cleaners, door to door. These were Hoovers from a company called Eureka Forbes. Tough job, but nice job. You would meet a lot of people, and a lot of strange people, and a lot of good people. And a lot of those would get slammed on your face, you know, and you would try to sell something, and it was a new concept in India to sell. Anyway, the good thing about the job was that you could kind of put together your 2 months commission and make a pay packet. So on the third month, I realized that this is not going to happen. We need to find a new way of selling. So I was by this time staying in Lajpat Nagar, which had actually settled as a refugee colony after partition. And there were these tent shops there. You know, we have marriages, so we have tent shops, and they would put tents and carpets. And so I went to Malhotra uncle and I said, Malhotra uncle.
There's always a Malhotra uncle in
always
Rajasthan.
Malhotra tent house. Yeah. And I said, Uncle Ji, you know, your wedding season is going on, and I have this wonder machine, and we can clean your carpets overnight. He said, क्या बात कर रहे? मैंने कहा, देखो, अरे ये तो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, मेरे को 10 दे दे. He didn't even ask the price. Very good. So he bought 10. So I went to Sodhi tent house and I said, Malhotra ने 10 खरीदे. Yeah? क्या करता है ये? चल मेरे को 5 दे दे, मैं try करता हूँ. So these kind of sales are unheard of. And a tent house buying them. Then I went to the railway hospital and I said, you need to be clean, and this is the ultimate hygiene machine. So they bought 16. Now my third month, I had managed to sell over 40 machines. And the pay packet became almost 85,000 bucks for that time. I'm talking 1983. Though the salary was just 400 rupees. So everybody around me from Sri Ram College, and a lot of them had migrated to the US, they had gone to Hindustan Levers and all these companies, and they said, what the hell are you doing? I said, I just can't work for Hindustan Levers. It's you know, I can't be an accountant. Half of them were CAs. They were all grown up to head. The head of Deutsche Bank is my classmate, the head of big companies, head of Pepsi, all of them. It's somehow I was not feeling it, or I was not getting the jobs, both ways. So anyway, I had 80,000 bucks and I gave it to my mom, and she thought I robbed the bank. And so I said no, it took me, or I went out gambling or something, and she wouldn't believe me for the next 40 years. But I said, this is it, and I managed to sell these machines. I went back to my boss and I said, listen, we've done it, I've seen it, I need to move on. He said, no, but you'll have a great career, one day you'll become, we can see you'll do well. I said, no, it's very boring. So we started a factory, me and my friend.
So the success, the fact that you were so successful at doing it, didn't make you think, oh, this is something I can do well, so this is a safe thing to do since I'm so good at it?
Being some kind of a sportsman, at a very low level, you got used to fight for it, and not to, something was there. The thrill, the adrenaline was not there. Yes, the money was there, but how can money be converted to adrenaline? It didn't convert for me. But the opportunity it gave me was to set up my own business. So at a very young age, which was 21, we set up a garment fabrication unit, which would export. So I became a tailor. I learned how to do the thing, and how to sew, how to do the buttons, how to cut a pattern. I could stitch a shirt, I can still do, or a skirt and all that. And the business started picking up for the next 18 months, and my classmate from college was my partner. And one day, another friend of mine was opening an advertising agency, and he said, this is really cool. I said, yeah, I know, because somewhere deep down in my heart, the salesman was there. So, why don't you join me? I said, yeah, sounds good. So I went to my partner and said, my share is your share. I'm signing all these checks. They're all yours. I don't want any money. I'm going to join advertising. So, yeah. So we are still great friends. Great means he's my best friend now. Still my best friend. And carried on and into advertising. And that job took me to Japan, and for 6 months I worked there. Because all the Japanese stuff was coming into India: bikes, LCVs, trucks, gadgets, cameras. And the Jap management wanted to, I think, Japanify us, if there's a term like that, to make sure that when you say 9 a.m. is the meeting, it means 9 a.m. and to hit schedules. So they wanted their own workforce. It was one of the most wonderful times of my life. A new country. Two, I'm 22 years old, 23 years old. Fabulous. The culture was amazing. And so they put me in a factory, in a car factory. We were making RX-7, the sports model for Mazda. And my first introduction was that you were supposed to shut your eyes, and every 18 seconds, look up, and one car would roll out. Then look down at your watch, 17, 18, look up, one more car would roll out. So every 18 seconds, a car, which was amazing. Then 1 month in a dealership, 1 month in a petrol pump, 2 months in an advertising agency called Dentsu, just to get the overall feel of what's going on. So I came back and started selling Hero Hondas as an advertising professional in client servicing. And things are not going right, so the client was sacking us. I went to my boss, I said, I have an idea. Let me make a commercial for Hero Honda, because the 4 commercials we made for, at that time, obnoxious amount of money, almost 80 lakhs at that time, didn't work. And they were with Salman Khan and all that. It was his first appearance. And I had an idea, which was very simple, which was because Hero Honda was selling a bike which would run for 80 kilometers on 1 liter. So I told my boss, it's not Japanese, it's not just, let's just talk about this. I know I've grown the hard way. I understand what 80 kilometers to a liter means. And that's what India wants to know. So we made a commercial called Fill It, Shut It, Forget It. And it was an in-house commercial. Fill it with petrol, shut the tank, and then forget about it. And we made it for 22,000 rupees. One of my friends used to play in a band in a 5-star hotel in Moria, Sheraton. I said, you do the music. He got a cameraman from Doordarshan, you shoot. The best looking boy and girl became the models from the agency. And we just shot in and around Delhi, and it kind of worked. We were lucky. And the commercial worked, but I tasted blood. By this time, I realized it's great fun making these small stories, telling them. So 6 months later, I left and went to Bombay. And my boss gave me another commercial for a television. And he said, all the best, and here's your first job. And I landed in Bombay. I took a flight and with my own money and thought I had arrived. 5 years later, that was the only commercial I'd made. Because it just didn't come. I was lucky for the first time. And I realized it's gonna take a lot of hard work. But then I got my breaks and lucky breaks and things worked out. And another 5 years or 3-4 years, I got an offer to work with Amitabh Bachchan. And it was the first time a celebrity was going to endorse in India.
What year was that?
This was like 90-something, 91, 2, 3.
It's hard to imagine now that celebrities weren't endorsing products.
Yeah, so I remember met him on a Friday and it was awesome meeting him, because nobody had seen Amitabh Bachchan. It was not the days of social media or television and so on. He was an illusion. And I was very happy. So, but I drank myself crazy on Saturday and realized there's something missing here. So I went to meet him on Monday and I said, listen, I can't do this. So he said, why? I said, come on, it's not right. We've seen you 80 feet tall and now you'll shrink 8 inches on a television screen. You would control us and now I'll have a remote and I'll control you. And he laughed at it. And he kept laughing and he said, you know what, this is the future. And he was right. And that time there was only one commercial with one celebrity with Kapil Dev, Palmolive da Jawab Nahi. And today the stars are selling everything, including underwear and yeah. So yeah, he had the vision. And we stuck on and we went on to make another 25 commercials, both of us, for Pepsi, for Reliance, and every time. And he became a huge mentor. And he did a music video, he recorded a song on the poetry of his father, Harivansh Rai Bachchan, and he made me hear them. And he said, I should do a music video. So I said, MJ does music video, you're Amitabh Bachchan, you're an actor, come on. So he said, no, this is gonna be the future, independent music. Okay, he was right the first time. So, cool. So I said, so why don't you produce it? I said, yeah, I'd love to. So we got show reels from directors from all over the world, mostly from the US, who were doing pop promos because this was a country where the whole MTV thing had happened. And he looked at all of them, we would scrutinize, we would say, okay, what to do, what not to do, and then one day he played the songs again and he says, what are your 2 favorite songs? And I picked up 2 songs and he said, actually, these are the closest to my heart. One Eid Bil Fateh and another one is a Sahil Ludhianvi poem, Kabhi Kabhi. So why don't you make them? So I said, I'd love to. So we did those videos and they kind of, people loved them. And then started writing my first feature film called Samjhauta Express. This huge thing India-Pakistan was going on. It's been going on since forever, since the nation was formed. And me and Abhishek were working on a script where he would actually play a mistaken terrorist from the other side, from Pakistan, who comes into India to infiltrate. And we worked on the film for a year. We were going to shoot, it got cancelled. Another 6 months, going to shoot, and everybody around, the wise people were saying, no, you can't do this. You can't have a hero playing a terrorist, killing Indian commandos. And then I said, but look at the end of the film, it's about love. We are wasting the youth. So the film never got made. Still on my phone, Abhishek's name is Hassan Saradi, and on his phone, my name is Liaquat, which was his father's role. Any which way, I was working on a script called Aks, which is Reflection. It was a 25-page document. One day I was with Abhishek, Amitji popped into the room and he said, hey guys, you're working hard. I said, you're catching up, I'm going to Delhi. I said, okay, take this. Yeah, this is in-flight entertainment for you. Yeah. So I reached home, he landed in Delhi and I got a call, and mobiles had just happened, these were these big ones. And he was speaking in a hushed voice and he said, what were you drinking when you wrote this? So I said, rum and coke. So he said, yeah, it had to be. Let's do it. So we made a film called Aks and it kind of worked out. So that's how it happened. I had never thought in my life that that this is going to be what I'm supposed to do. I just went with the motion, went with the times, always was in the moment as such. And I really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, believe me. And it just, my life might just show me another aspect of life, and I might just enjoy that a lot more. Yeah.
You really have to be open to opportunities and just go with where life takes you. Have faith.
Yeah, absolutely. If you trust life, and life will trust you back. I think it will give it back to you. That's been my experience, and I would like to admit I've been lucky. And there have been a lot of failures, like Aks failed. So I should have been written off. And I put in my own money, whatever little I had from advertising. And I still remember we used to do one commercial and shoot for 20 days so that we had some money. And so then I gave it but I really enjoyed making the movie. I thought, this is it, man. There's nothing else in the world but cinema. So for the next, and I'd never assisted anybody. I'd never gone to a film school. The first time I touched a camera was on my film when I hired it. So next 5 years, I enjoyed working with actors. I enjoyed the technology. I enjoyed the whole idea of cinema. But I realized it's about storytelling. It's not about whom you cast. It's not about what people are flying in spandex. It's really not about that. And it's about a story. So 5 years I gave myself to reading about screenplay, and I realized there's something called a screenplay. I hadn't heard the word called screenplay. And out of the 5 books on the shelf, there used to be a book by this author called Setfield, How to Write Screenplays and all that. और वो मैं चाट गया मतलब I
taught yourself.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of movies and I saw world cinema. And my advertising used to take me to London a lot for editing and special effects and all that. And I started liking certain makers without knowing about them. And they turned out to be Kurosawa and Fellini and Kieslowski, and they're all masters. So it was a very natural attraction towards these people. And then I took all that experience and put that and wrote a script out of my life, which was about MiG planes crashing, because I'd gone to an Air Force school. So there was this corruption scandal called the Flying Coffins. And MiGs were crashing and young pilots were losing their life, which kind of made you really angry and frustrated, but you had to do something about it, and what can you do about it? So make a movie, because during college we wanted to change the world, but we went on with the careers. And that was the movie about pointing fingers, but not being part of the change. So if you really want to change, you've got to change the person you see in the mirror every day in the morning. And it kind of worked out, yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely worked out. I remember when the movie came out, I was a student at university, and the environment was so charged up. Like everybody was so inspired. Jasba kehte hain na, jise jasba tha sab mein. And I felt like the movie made such a bold statement about how students are at the heart of social change. You know, people have to change, and students have to be a part of, young people have to be part of that conversation when you talk about bringing about a change. So related to that, I want to ask you, given what has been happening on college campuses in India in the past 6-7 months, you know, the big crackdown in JNU on students' freedom of speech and activism, I want to know what your thoughts are on students, like what is the role of students' activism, especially as it pertains to college campuses? And then to a follow-up on that, what role does art and cinema have to support that kind of agenda of student activism for social change?
Yeah, I think there's nothing new about it. All the while, for thousands of years, there has been a voice against the establishment. In fact, there's a lovely poem by Sahir which says, बहुत दिनों से है मशगला सियासत का, जब जवां हो बच्चे तो कत्ल हो जाए. So, for many days, it has been a hobby of the establishment. When kids grow up, or when they become the youth, they should be killed. And you see at the heart of any revolution, whether out here, anti-Vietnam, the Flower Power, Tiananmen Square, Mandal Commission, the armed revolution of 1919 to 1930 in India, which is Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Rajguru, Sukhdev. They were all students. And the French Revolution, the deaf need to hear, so the bomb blast in the parliament. There's nothing new as such. In fact, Ashoka, the Great, 346 BC, was a young student when he revolted against the empire. So, yeah, it's such a wonderful period of your life that you can afford to revolt. As you get a little older, you start settling down. A lot of us do start settling down. Not afraid of the consequences. It's kind of natural. I don't know how to explain it. When you are young, and you need to do young things. And when you get old, you need to do old things. So, and it's great fun to go out there and raise a voice and not conform to some fuddy-duddy ideas of some older generation who's trying to tell you. And they used to be young ones. So now they are trying to impose their lives onto the young ones, which I think is not so cool. Yeah.
I've been told I have just 5 minutes till audience questions, so I'm going to switch gears and ask you a question that's closer to my heart as someone who talks about cinema in the classroom, and I think that also kind of connects to the larger theme of this conference, which is breaking stereotypes. And one of the ways that Bollywood is immediately written off by a global audience sometimes is that it's too much song and dance. There's too much melodrama in the films. But I feel like a lot of the music and dance comes from a very different understanding of aesthetics. Like our culture has a very long tradition of oral storytelling through music, and I feel like you have used music so beautifully in your films, especially the liche. Like one of my favorite lines is "Ye sheher nahi mehfil hai." Like I just fell in love with that line about Delhi. So what do you? Would you like to comment on what role does music play in telling stories in Hindi cinema, especially?
It's a long answer. I can't do justice in 5 minutes.
I'd
Because,
like to hear
no, now it's a question you're asking a filmmaker. So I can't just generalize it. There's a lot going on there. So I did a documentary called Bollywood, the Greatest Love Story Ever Told, to celebrate 100 years of Indian cinema. And it was the opening film at Cannes Film Festival. And they had invited me to do this piece. I called it Bollywood, the greatest love story ever told, because I hate the term Bollywood. So it started with me coming out of with holding a camera, not me. I came out of the VT station in Bombay, went to a cab and I said, "Take me to Bollywood." He looked at me, "What?" So I went to the other one, "Take me to Bollywood." "Bhaiya, Bollywood jaane ka kitna hai?" He just said, "I'm gone crazy." Went to the third one, fourth one, till the fifth one said, "Yeah, sir, I'll take you to Bollywood." I said, "How much?" He said, $500. I said, "Okay, take me." And he dropped me outside Amitabh Bachchan's house.
That's what I would have guessed.
So I called up Amitji. I said, "Amitji, you're the culprit." And I asked for Bollywood and he said, "Tell me about it." It looks like we are stuck with it. So yeah, song and dance. In the silent era, we would make movies, and the first talkies happened. So the actors and actresses who graduated from the silent era were great actors and actresses, but they didn't have a great voice or a singing voice. So the orchestra would hide behind the bush or the tree and play, and they would run around it and sing. Also, a lot of movies took on from the folk theatre. So the actors came from folk, the directors, the writers came from playwright, except the editors, which is an invention of cinema. And that translated into the way we were telling stories. For the longest time, in Hollywood was making musicals, right through the depression of the 30s. So whatever is happening in society, cinema is either reflecting it or juxtaposing it, in a way. The Americans in the West were escaping the harsh reality of depression and the aftermath of First World War, heading into the Second World War. They were tough times, and by making musicals. When India got independence, we had the best period of our cinema, the golden era. We had movies like Do Aankhein Bara Haath, Mother India, Do Biga Zameen, Neecha Nagar is still being taught in all film schools all over the world. Do Aankhein Bara Haath won the Golden Bear, and there was storytelling, and because it was a new nation, a nation was born. But soon there were Maharashtra droughts, there were Bengal famine, and we couldn't deal with this natural catastrophe. There was proxy wars with Pakistan. Pakistan had proxy war with us, or whatever, both ways. Not blaming anyone. 3 wars. We had a drubbing with China, and they really slapped our faces, came in, and when they got bored, they put their flag there and said, "This is our boundary." And we lost that war badly. There were no jobs. Corruption was on the rise. And for the first time, with Shammi Kapoor, the hero started dancing. If you see the cinema before that, the hero never danced. Yes, they would lip sync. And he's still dancing. That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't know why. And so when real life became so harsh. You created escapism in cinema. So you would enter this theater and for 3 hours you would escape that life, where trains would come 18 hours late, if at all they would come, and they would stop anywhere. The buses would just pass by you because they were overloaded by 100 people. It was dark ages. We didn't know whether we were socialist or capitalist or communist. Something called a mixed economy, which we thought will take the best of both, but it didn't work for the longest time. But somehow the nation survived. And then the times changed with the opening of the economy, and everybody out here knows all that, which is like modern Indian history. And and kind of, so when we made Rang De Basanti, there was music, but there was no lip sync and there was no dancing. There were no 40 girls, 40 guys wearing black, wearing white, all that. And everybody said it's Haraki, but the music worked. We went to Delhi 6. The music is one of the highest selling music in the history of Indian cinema, which is amazing, which is great economics. Again, no dancing. Again, no singing.
Integrated into storytelling.
Integrated into storytelling. So it's a reflection of times. As you see moving forward, also we don't have a culture, nobody in the world can live without music. Nobody. Japanese, Russian, Iranian, Spanish, English, American, Indian, Pakistani. We can't live without music. Music is something which enriches your soul. But we don't have an economy or an ecosystem of independent music. It only belongs to classical music. The pop music, the pop culture is in the movies. So until that ecosystem now come about, how now sports is breaking through. So the next two big things in India will be sports, definitely music, which is independent, and movies, of course, independent on digital platforms and all that. In this order, actually. And once there is expression outside, you won't need them in the movies. Right now, it's just fulfilling a need. It's filling a gap. And we try and make sense of it and justify it, our culture, we born with music, we die with music. No, all that is bullshit. It's not like that. It's no holier than thou. It's just, we need music. I need water. I need music. Everybody needs music. And that's it. Yeah. Music was born in the cotton fields of Midwest. It was, it served a purpose. Music, the new pop music in India were born in our movies. It served a purpose.
So you don't think it draws from our traditional forms of oral storytelling, or is that just an academic justification for...
People will kill me for it. And I've had great fights with Javed Akhtar and Gulzar on this. I tell them, come on, Javed Saab, please go and write outside. All this lip sync music and all is too much to take. And he gets angry with me and he scolds me a lot on forums. He's right, I'm right. They're all right, we're all right.
Keep it at that. Thank you. Asa, I think we're ready for audience questions now.
Namaste, Rakeysh sir. Okay. I have actually a lot of questions, but I'll stick to two, so that others can ask. One question that has been bugging me for a while, and साहिबा ने मिर्ज़ा के तीर क्यों तोड़े? ये सवाल मैं सोच रही थी कि शायद फिल्म देख लिया मुझे समझ आए, पर somehow I could not still find the answer. So since you did the research on that subject, तो आपने क्या पाया कि उसने वो तीर क्यों तोड़े थे? The second question I had was that how did you cast Atul Kulkarni for that role in Rang De Basanti, because he had done Gandhi, play Gandhi before that. So how did you think of casting him for somebody who had done Gandhi before that, and doing a role which was kind of philosophically so opposite to what he had done before?
So yeah, I'll answer the second question first about Atul Kulkarni. So Atul had played Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and now I was asking him to play almost a fascist, anti-Gandhi, and on the right wing. So he's an actor, and I know him closely, and he was the first person casted for Rang De Basanti even before Amir, and he stood by me for 2 years before the. So yeah, he's an actor, and in his eyes I saw the fire, and it's amazing. I think it's a good question because on both sides of the spectrum, you need to have fire in your belly, in your eyes, and Atul had that. So he could play Gandhi and he could play the other side of the spectrum. So he fitted the role, and the movie proves that. Mirza ne Saiba ke Teer ke Tode, we can speak about it outside, both of us, because it's again a long, and it needs some kind of a context. But this is a movie I made lately where it's a folklore where Saiban breaks the arrows when the time comes. And she's eloped with Mirza on a horse, and they've been riding for a couple of days. So the question is, why did she break the arrows? And then Mirza is shot with other arrows of her brothers and friends and all. Did she do it out of love? Did she do it out of what? So the answer I found was that you hurt them the most whom you love the most. There is some kind of a right, an IPR on the ones you love. So it's stupid, but it is. And it feels like if you can give your life for them, you can even take their life. And it's a crazy thing. I can't explain it, there's no logic. But then love is the most illogical emotion. And we should not try and explain it or reason it out. We should just leave it at that, and it keeps becoming more and more beautiful. Blossoms once you don't look for a reason why you love somebody the way you do. Yeah.
Hello. May I go first? Okay. All right. Namaste. It was such a very inspiring. I'm on this side. Pleasure to listen to your talk today. I have a very quick question for you. When if you look at India and Indians, and especially American Indians, the interest in science and technology is very strong. Everybody wants their kid to be an engineer or a doctor. And yet the movies do not really reflect that kind of a genre of people. And not only that, the stories are still love stories or emotion-based. The idea of let's create the new technology that could probably lift everybody out of poverty. Those kind of dramatic ideas, I do not see them happen, and I'd love your feedback on that. And to your other point also about music, not being the tradition of oral storytelling, not being native to us. But if you look at ancient poetry, whether it is Kamban or any other, even the Natya Shastra, right? Kamban's verses themselves were written not to be talked, but to be sung. Unlike probably Shakespeare, who didn't write it to be sung. So I didn't know if that would be, some justification to say, as a culture, we like to, get our bases into music. So two different questions, but would love your feedback on both.
Yeah, I'll answer the second one first again, because that's, and then try and remember what was the first one. No, so not to be arrogant, that's my point of view. As such, in my small little journey as a filmmaker, that's what I feel. Even Mahabharata or the Bhagavad was written as 20,000 verses, going to 80, going to 120, and even the Ramcharitmanas is written in a meter of chopaiya, which means 4 lines, so that because the tradition was to pass it on verbally. That's the Vedanta. But hey, today we it's not the, like, printing press has been invented quite some time back. And we've been reading, and we are a nation which reads. So we just can't say that. For me, music enriches the soul, and it has a huge place in my life and all our lives. And I don't think it belongs to the movies. And I really don't think so. Movies can borrow from music, but to say that our language of cinema will be musicals is like, wow. And sorry, what was the first question?
First question was, we are all engineers and
Oh, yeah.
technologists, and why those stories of using technology to transform India's poverty or something is not...
Fantastic, yeah. No, absolutely amazing. I cannot generalize, but I would like to tell Indian stories to the world. I cannot tell an American idea made in India as such, because I'm a storyteller. And likewise, I have a lot of friends who do that. I feel we need to empower the small towns and villages of India, which is my endeavor right now. We are doing a lot of film classes, and I'm finding some great filmmakers from absolutely, from villages. They're making movies. I just finished, I wouldn't call it judging, but sitting along with Shekhar Kapoor and Prahlad, 700 films made by people from small towns and villages on whatever they could make it on. And they're such amazing stories. Those are the stories we want to tell the world. Now, if there is a story to be told about South Asians, then somebody has to tell that story. Who feels that story? Not like a borrowed idiom, who really feels about it. So there's such an amazing diaspora here. I'm sure. And you don't really need to go to a film school to make a movie. Unlike engineering, where you've got to build a bridge, and you just can't build a bridge with thoughts and ideas, otherwise, it really won't work. You can hire technicians. If you have the ideas, you can work with the team and then learn as you go along. But yeah, there's some amazing film schools here. So yes, I would request, if it's something which is bothering the generation so much, and I'm seeing all the three generations being bothered with it. I've felt that a lot, and this is not the first time I'm facing this query. My daughter is in Cleveland, in Oberlin, and she's learning how to write. And my question to her is, you have to write what you feel strongly about. Writing, storytelling is not Indian, it's not Japanese, it's not American. Nobody has an IPR on that. It's about human beings. I don't care if it's a story about South Asians who are told to be engineers and doctors, but they can do so much more, and they can be a sportsman, and they can be, or there is a divide of some sort, or there's some problems going on. Tell the story. Unless you tell the story, stories empower you in more than, they're crazy. They really empower you more than you know. Because you would read Odyssey or Mahabharata, and you'll apply it to your life or your game in a certain way. You think about Abhimanyu when you enter, and you got to score like 200 runs in some 20 overs. And so things like that come to you. So stories empower you in a certain way. So yeah. That's my best.
Rakeysh ji, I think it was wonderful listening to you today. We have heard a lot about successful people who pursue their dreams and listen to their hearts, become successful. And I think you are one of such a great example. But one question coming to my mind is that you seem to be going through different phases of your life, and you kept on like pursuing what you think is a right solution. You know, you could have been a great salesman today, if not a filmmaker, or you could have been a great branding person today, if not a filmmaker. But you made yourself successful in all those dimensions of the life. And I think the underlying factor of all your movies was a social theme, which probably made you pursue those the movies further. And I really wanted to actually appreciate one of your initiatives that I heard recently about you building 800 toilets. I think that's amazing contribution to the society as a filmmaker like you are doing. But the real question is after that, and you seem to get inspired by something, and then you pursue that very successfully. And now you are building the toilets, and the name of your movie is Mere Pyare Prime Minister. So is the inspiration from Mr. Prime Minister, or is inspiration from the social problem?
No, we are asking the Prime Minister of the country some very difficult questions. So I've disguised it as my dear Prime Minister. So, because say there are a billion people. The last numbers as per UNICEF, which is 1 week ago, is 500 million still defecate out in the open. 300 million women don't have facilities for defecation, and they go out in the open. 50% of the rapes that happen is when women go out to defecate. I have to tell a story around that. And I have to ask the Prime Minister. So it's an 8-year-old kid who wants to make a toilet for a single mother, Sargam. Kanu wants to make for Sargam. And they live in the shanties in Mumbai. And he would ask the Prime Minister, hey, in a letter saying, my dear Prime Minister, I'm sure you have a big house. You must be having toilets. You know, my mother, she went out the other night, and some people did some dirty things with her. What if your mother went out? So it's not. The story is inspired from Gandhiji. I went to Sabarmati Ashram, and my life changed, or took another direction. It didn't change. That would be too much. I realized that this man sitting here weaving a charkha under a tree was one of the architects for the Indian freedom movement. And what he would really do, how he started from Tolstoy farms and coming into the Harijan movement, was he was making toilets. So I found the other activity in my life, which I really want to do till I die. And there is this amazing NGO in Ahmedabad called Yuva Unstoppable, led by Amitabh Shah. And he was out here, a topper in Yale, great job at Wall Street, and he saw Rang De Basanti, he came there, and we used to chat. And I said, Amitabh, you're doing a lot of great work, let's just make toilets from here on. So we started with a team of 12. Right now, there are 120,000 volunteers. And we started some 20 toilets first year, and this is the third year. And we would adopt schools. So when I say one toilet, it means a block. There could be 20 toilets in that one block. There could be 10, there could be 30. And the girl child started coming back to school. We would do it in a lot of municipal schools in Barmer, Rajasthan 50 and all that. Great learning. Like a simple thing. And you are just, you are not the electricity, you are just the wire through which the electricity is passing. So we would go out with a begging bowl, and a lot of good people, a lot of corporates, they gave the money, we gave the money to KPMG, and we said, you handle the money. And we told IIM Ahmedabad to do the impact study month on month. So right now 800 and counting. The target is 10,000 before 2020. So Mere Pyare Prime Minister also, after all these problems, you know the number of toilets you're making. Does anyone have a guess how many toilets in India we are making per hour?
As part of the initiative?
not my initiative, as Indians, as the government's initiative, as Tatas, as Mahindras, as Reliance, as people like us, we are making 3,300 toilets per hour. And that's amazing. And we're gonna get rid of this problem. It's an opportunity. So a lot of people say when you do social stuff and all, you're giving back. I say, hey, no, nobody gives back at all. You're just paying your rentals. You know, otherwise you are actually not paying your rent and you're passing through life and enjoying everything without paying anything for it. And it's like living in an apartment and every day entering your home through a window so that the landlady doesn't catch you. And she doesn't even know you're living there. So I really don't want to do that. Yeah.